Welcome to Shape Makers, the podcast series from the Aluminum Extruders Council. AEC is a trade organization representing over 75% of the aluminum extrusion production in North America. In this series, you'll hear about key issues that affect both extruders and suppliers in the industry, as well as those who specify and use aluminum extruded products. Our guest speakers will discuss in-depth topics like aluminum extrusion, fair trade cases, what the industry is doing to attract and retain skilled workers, how extrusion products are rising to the challenge of stricter building and energy codes, the rise of extrusion use in vehicles, and much more. So sit back, relax, get comfortable, and get ready to learn more about aluminum extrusion.
Hello, everyone. This is Jason Weber from the AEC. Welcome to another episode of the Shape Makers. Today, we are fortunate to have Mr. Mark Butterfield, Chairman of the AEC and President of Pennex. Good morning, Mark.
Morning, Jason. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Just finishing up the year. Thank you for joining us to do this. We wanted to do just a recap of AEC's 75th anniversary year, and then also talk a lot about what's coming up for 2025. So want to just say thank you for joining us today in this busy time of the year, and we'll jump into it. So as I mentioned, this year was the 75th year of the AEC. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to reflect on your first year as chairman of the AEC and kind of your own personal highlights of what you thought was good about this year, and we'll go on from there.
Okay. Well, it's amazing how fast 24 kind of blew by us, and we're talking about the end of the year here, and looking forward to kicking off 2025. I think 2025 is going to be a great year for the AEC and our industry. But when we think about 24 and the 75th anniversary, can you believe that? I mean, think about all of the change and technical business management issues that the AEC has addressed for our industry over the past 75 years. I mean, just think about what that looked like when the leaders started it 75 years ago, even today, what we're dealing with. But, and think about the impact that the AEC has had for our industry, whether it be, training, education, all of the clinics, all of the networking, all of the industry knowledge that was developed within the AEC, the relationships that was built, and then, some of the staples of the fair trade and the protection of our industry. It's just been tremendous. I've been fortunate. I guess it's my age, right? I've been part of almost half of that almost. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but, the one thing that I can say is that, it's been great to be part of it. And I've always seen the AEC, from my perspective, of always making progress in the right direction in the difficult times and in the great times. So looking forward to what the next 5 years looks like and gets us to that 80th anniversary milestone.
Yeah, absolutely. I just, can think back to, getting ready for the annual, meeting here this past March. And we put together, a video montage, went back in the archives and found, old pictures. And, obviously that gets discussion about not only the people, but what was going on at those particular times along the way. It is quite amazing to think about all the issues that, the AEC has dealt with, over the years, which really started, kind of around, availability of aluminum and billet. And, that was some of the first, topics that the AEC handled. And as we've moved forward, through, over the last 14 years, with trade, that is really something that, obviously the AEC needs to continue to evolve, to handle that, which I think, as, for me, new coming into the association, coming from, the producer world into the association, really, see these much higher level, issues involving government, involving, all the different factors that go into our industry, and how do we take the AEC and, help it evolve. Because we have some people that, have been around for quite some time. They like it a certain way, but, there is a need that is here that we need to address in evolving the association to be able to handle kind of the current needs of members. So yeah, from ET, obviously, not only are you the chairman of the AEC, but you're also co-chair of, the ET Foundation, and how we look at setting that up for 2027. And we're already going to be starting, those plans. We've been having, our discussions, within the executive committee of the ET Foundation as to, obviously the bones of it will stay as it is, but how do we structure that from a committee standpoint, and even some of the resources that we bring in to make sure that we're, producing, the best technical event that we have, or that we can. So I think that's extremely important as we move forward, not only with the ET Foundation, but then how we, structure, the events, for 2026. Again, the signature events, the annual meeting. Next year we'll have the Aluminum Summit in conjunction with the Anodizers Council. And those will all start to, evolve, as we continue to move through. As we look at, planning for, 2026, why don't you speak a little bit? The first thing that we'll do as the AEC is at the end of January, we have our strategic planning meeting, which will happen down in San Antonio. The board of directors, plus some of the longtime contributors to the AEC, will all be there. Why don't you talk about that a little bit, and what we're kind of planning to come out of there with?
Yeah, I mean, there couldn't be a better time than now to have a strategy session for the AEC. As you mentioned, a lot of change occurring within the AEC and ET, all for the good, right? Our industry is not the same today as it was even, 3 or 4 years ago, much less 5 to 10 years ago. And that change will continue to happen. And the speed and the dynamics of our industry will only increase. So therefore, as an AEC, for our membership, we have to keep up with that, and we have to change and flex how we do business so that we can remain efficient and serve the needs of the members, and be able to move quicker. And I think all of the things that you mentioned, Jason, are spot on. It just, in my eyes, it makes us more efficient. And if you become more efficient, you can do more with less, and you can move quicker. And I think that's what, even in our own businesses, that's what we strive to do. In regards to the planning session, we are going to meet in January down in San Antonio with a great team. Not only board members, but also, as you mentioned, key strategic individuals that have been a significant part of the AEC that has helped get us to where we are today. You couldn't do it any sooner. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to talk about things, that are focused on who we are as an AEC, and what is our mission and vision statement moving forward. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to be 5 years from now, and why? And why is that important? And does that resonate with the rest of the membership? Does that help protect our industry and help our industry grow? I mean, that's really what we're focused on this planning session. And then, start to get into some of the areas of defining the AEC's value, making sure that we are grounded in what our membership is looking for, and then that value is at the highest level it can be. And then some of the more key items that we're going to be talking about is, how do we navigate trade moving forward? It's one of the greatest risks to our industry and our businesses. So how do we position ourselves within the AEC to be able to support our membership at the highest level? And what does that look like? I think that's really important. And then, as you know, and you've taken a lead on this, of changing how we work as the AEC, right? How does committees look? What does the participation and engagement? It is a volunteer-based committee, right? And council. Therefore, the most important, just like in our own businesses, is the people, and making sure that we got the right people engaged and participating at all different levels, and that even flows into the succession planning, of the council and what that looks like. So it'll be a great day and a half of discussions and strategic work within the group. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, from my perspective, we share that, right? We have lots of different types of members, not only the extruder members, but the producer, primary members, and the supplier members, all of who will not only be represented at the strategic planning meeting, but everybody in contributing to the different teams and the committees and the work that we're doing, and how do we, kind of build that bigger tent to make sure everybody has the opportunity to participate and engage, should they want to. And I think, paying your dues is one thing, and we love it. That's how we fund the things that we do. But it's really that, the work in the teams and the committees that really makes, the AEC what it is. And without the participation of all the members, we're going to fall. We'll fall short of what our goals are, because we just won't physically have the people to, help us do the work. And some things that will happen, are small. So we'll, or maybe not small, but, just small refinements in when we hold the meeting or how we schedule the meeting. So right after the strategic planning meeting, we'll have the annual meeting, which is coming up in the middle of March. That will be down in San Antonio, right on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. So looking forward to not only the venue, but, this time we changed with, that would typically go, Thursday and end on Saturday night with the banquet, which is always a really fun highlight. But what we did hear from members is, look, we need to have these things during the week, so to speak. We don't necessarily want to give up, part or all of our weekend to do this. So we've actually moved it out, starting team meetings on a Monday, but then culminating on Thursday night with the banquet, puts that in there. It's unfortunate, so we'll have to, go in probably on Sunday. But again, moving these things around just a little bit to kind of, set us up for the current condition of the way people work, which is, a little bit different than it has been.
Yeah, things change, right? Work schedules change, and I think it's a great example where you heard from the membership that there was a need for change there, or, there's an opportunity maybe to look at this a different way, and you took action on that. So I'm looking forward to it. The annual meeting is always a highlight of the year. It was a great opportunity to bring the leaders together and network at the highest level. And, the committee meetings are always very productive, very well attended. A lot of work takes place there. And so it's a great week. All of the sessions and the general sessions, we've always got great speakers there focused on the topics that are, I would say of the utmost importance for the membership and in our industry, regardless of what markets you may be in. So I think there's always a lot of great value there. And then, as you mentioned, the banquet, it's always fun to get everybody together and kind of relax a little bit. And there's a lot of friendships, right? From my time spent, some of the greatest friends that I have out there are all, resonated from the AEC. So it's great to get together with all of them.
So we hope in doing that we can be more inclusive of everybody that they decide to stay on for the banquet, because that is our time to celebrate as an industry there, and I think that provides a great opportunity to let's say let your hair down a little bit and not talk about the extrusion industry as much as we normally do during the meetings and everything. So that's always a good time.
Yeah, it's a great event, and San Antonio is beautiful down there, so it'll be a great location.
Coming up in September, we'll have the Aluminum Summit. Every other year, we co-locate the Aluminum Summit with the the AEC, which would typically be the Fall Management Conference. We co-locate that with the Aluminum Anodizers Council. So that will happen in September in Atlanta. Outside of that, which I would call our signature events, which would be the annual meeting and the fall management conference, we are also in the process of setting up basically 3 other events. One of them will be the press maintenance and die clinic, which we're planning for the end of April, beginning of May. We're just finalizing the venues for that right now. That should be happening in Nashville. October, we will be holding the Safety and HR Summit, which will be back in the Atlanta area. So that will be a great event. We have some good speakers bringing a lot of different, from the HR side and the safety side, bringing that together, which will be a very beneficial event for those particular professionals. And then at the end of October, beginning of November, we will be holding an advanced die clinic and process optimization workshop in the Dallas area. So we haven't finalized the venues for that yet, but that should be announced really soon. I don't know, over the years, I'm sure, Mark, you've participated in some of those workshops. Maybe talk a little bit about what you've been able to get out of that as an extrusion professional over the years.
Yeah, I mean, think about just what you covered there, Jason. Think about our own businesses, whether you're casting, extruding, or fabricating. I mean, we talked about press maintenance workshop. I mean, there's nothing more critical to the foundation of our business that assuring that we have a high degree of reliability for the equipment. These are very expensive assets. We want to be able to maintain them. We want to understand how to do that, how to do it efficiently, and make sure that our team members are trained and have a network established for individuals that they can reach out. And that all happens there with the press maintenance workshop. I attended those early in my career and still send attendees from Pennex to that. Tremendous value there. And then we think about, die clinic, advanced die clinic and process optimization. I've always believed that, an extruder's capability is really boils down to 2 key things. One, first and foremost, is the people that it has. And then second, your tooling technology and your ability to, design tools and maintain tools and correct tools and do problem solving that allows you to address all the issues that we know that come from our process. I've been heavily involved with the die clinics, was co-chair of the tooling committee for quite a while. A tremendous team. I mean, they are truly focused on how do we disseminate the knowledge that's within this committee to the greater good of our industry, and they truly do that. And that's why the die clinic has been so successful. A lot of it is hands-on. There's all of the presentations that go along with it, but it's a lot of hands-on. It's a lot of networking. It's a lot of problem solving. It's tremendous. And then the process optimization clinic, I had a chance to chair that quite a ways back, working with Craig Werner. He helped me through that. That's a tremendous effort of pulling some of the greatest suppliers and OEMs of our industry together and key individuals to help us understand, how do we take what we have and do more with it in the most efficient way. And that's really what that clinic is. And you'll get tremendous exposure across all different areas by attending that. And then, again, people and keeping our team members safe. I think that's been, a lot of great advancements in the AEC with the recent work that's being done by the HR committee. And then the safety work that's been occurring. Service Center Metals has done a tremendous job in supporting that. And, the webinars that we have, I think there's a webinar in January that kind of kicks off a series. That first being like preventing hand injuries. I mean, that's our responsibility within our businesses is to, first of all, give everyone the tools that they need and the training and the education. But most importantly, we have to keep them safe. And the team does a great job with that. So when you think about those training initiatives and everything that you just mentioned, it covers it all. And I've always said that, and it's been my experience that any issue that you're dealing with within your business, regardless of how complex or the size of it, it's probably been dealt with at some point within the AEC. I mean, after 75 years of some of the greatest minds and business leaders and within our industry, it's probably been dealt with at some point. Take advantage of that, send people, get engaged. There's tremendous value there.
Yeah, I tend to focus a lot on the events, right? I guess that's where, from a staff perspective, I spend a lot of my time. But, you mentioned the webinars, and thank you for doing that, because, that's one of the areas that I kind of, will very quickly move past. But we have the webinars, we have the apprenticeship programs, the STEM education kits, Heroes Make America. Some of these, programs that we're running within the AEC that really, are there for the members to pull on. Apprenticeship program is now kind of, I would say almost dovetailing with the die clinics, in that there is a die correctors apprenticeship program, that will be rolled out through 25. Also press operators. So those were two new apprenticeship programs that were just announced just right after the fall conference here in 24. So that is huge for our industry. And, not only from the staff perspective, but the volunteers that came in to basically create those programs, which did not exist. There was already the mechanical tech program, apprenticeship program that we had, which was basically, an existing, program through the Department of Labor that they had that we could use. But to go further, in developing additional apprenticeship programs, we basically had to create those from scratch. Of course, we used industry consultants and, like I said, members and staff to be able to do that. But those programs for the die correctors and the press operators are brand new. Those job descriptions did not exist within the Department of Labor program that we could kind of pull on. We had to create those, which is, a tremendous effort to do that. But we've had, I think, almost 15 locations now sign up for those particular programs. And so all very important to the value proposition of the AEC to members. And then again, like how you finished your last statement in the networking. There's somebody that's been through whatever the problem is that a member is going through. So how do we also create that network for people, or help people access that network, where they can get assistance in their daily job? One of the things that I would mention in doing that is at a staff level is utilizing, different communication tools. We have basically our membership database, the system that we use to kind of track and send out dues and do all that. There's some other communication tools that we're going to be rolling out here fairly quickly in 25 that can help everybody come together in more of a online forum standpoint, to be able to ask those questions and get some answers to problems. So it's not always, like I said, it's not always those big signature events that were happening. It's kind of everything else. That's kind of like the daily work that goes in, to the AEC, and is what can really drive the individual contributors in the different businesses to be able to, help with their daily work. So I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, just on the apprenticeship program, I mean, you talk about the die correctors and the press operators. I mean, critical roles within an operation. I've always said, and within my own organization, is that, you can go out and buy the greatest equipment out there. That's as simple as really writing the check, as simple as that may be. But what you do with that equipment is dependent upon the people. And, the people that you have and the development that you do with them is really what allows you to differentiate from others. And when you think about it, and if you believe in that, and that's at the foundation of who your business is, then how do you develop your teams? And that's been a gap in our industry, right? As a die corrector or a press operator, I mean, they're developed internally. It takes a lot of time. You can't go out to a university and find someone who's got a degree in die correction. And so we I think this is a gap that was recognized, and it's a gap that's being closed. And there's a lot of individuals within the AEC and members that were dedicated to this and did a great job and made it happen. I think it's a huge win for our members, and it's important that all of them that feel this need take advantage of it. It's part of your membership. It's part of the value of being part of the AEC.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think one of the opportunities that I see is we kind of have our little celebrations along the way, but it would really like to hear more from members on their success stories in using these programs, because obviously not everybody takes advantage of these programs in the same way, and even simple things like the learning management system that's out there, it's accessed quite regularly. But I think it's also applied in different ways, or the access is handled. So we really like to understand, from individual members, and we're going to be doing more outreach from the staff level, as we go through 25, and really finding out, hey, not only how do you use it, but how would you like to use it? What are your pain points, in some of the stuff? At the end of the day, I, will always put my manufacturing hat on first and talk about ease of use, rules in use, and try and drive some of those, thought processes into the association, so it makes it easier for members, right? When you choose to engage with a program, is it easy? We don't want this to become somebody's second or third job, just engaging with the AEC. It has to provide that value, because that's what will bring you in to help. The professional development that can come along with that, even just, simple things like engaging in teams, right? Is you will always learn something. There are always things that then you can take back and apply to your business, whether it's on the marketing side or on the business excellence side. Wherever it is, right? You're just being involved and being an active participant, will enable that professional growth. And that's something that, through, the apprenticeship programs, obviously that's around professional growth. But again, I think a lot of it just comes from, participation and being in the room and being an active participant, also helps in a certain way.
Yeah, and as a member, and the dues that you pay, you have a voice. And, I would encourage everyone to use that voice, because, the AEC leadership, it's servant leadership. We work for the members to make sure that we're providing their needs, right? We're providing a solution to their needs. And the more that communication happens, the better that we can navigate the AEC and set our strategy of the AEC to be able to serve that. But it comes from communication. It's like any business, right? The best businesses are based on a very strong communication plan and the ability to communicate the need. And I would say it's no different than the AEC and our memberships. Reach out, send us an email, give us a call. Let's understand what gaps may still be out there, and then how do we close them.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication is key to that. And, jweber@tso.net if you got any complaints or any questions, or phone calls are also good too, but kind of, coming along on the communication side, or pulling on that thread a little bit more, obviously right now, there's a lot of preparation going into the new administration. The transition team is active. There are things happening. We hear things in the news almost every day about, what could happen in that, So I would, kind of like to, wrap this up a little bit, and some talk about trade, right? That's been, the big item for the last, 15 years since the first China case. There are things happening within the transition team right now, and working on potential expansion of 232 tariffs. We're hearing things about renegotiating USMCA. Obviously, there are many things that are being discussed that we don't know about, but Maybe since you have been so involved in trade, talk a little bit about, kind of what's happening there right now and what we're wrestling with, on the Fair Trade Committee.
Yeah, that's probably one of the largest topics or initiatives or areas that I think the AEC needs to continue to focus on. I think it's going to be a significant part of our discussion at our strategy session. And why is that? I mean, it's because we have the history that you mentioned of fighting for our industry and our membership from trade and the impact that it had. I think the dynamics and the companies that exist today would probably look a lot different had that activity not occurred. Really driven by the AEC, a lot of members that really stepped up and did a lot of tremendous work around that. And Jeff Henderson and the work that he did there. I think there's a lot of businesses in our industry that probably recognize the importance that it had on them specifically. So trade is very important, and it's not always that whether you win or lose a specific initiative. It's at the foundation. It's that we have an industry that will fight to protect itself. That's number one, and we can never lose that. We need to always show that we have a membership and we have an industry that's willing to fight. Now, when we look at the change and the political dynamics that are occurring, regardless of how you may or may not have wanted the election to go, the election is behind us. And now we have to stay focused on what does that look like with this administration and what opportunities do we have with it? And it's happening quickly. It's happening right now. And I think there's really 4 areas for us as an industry to focus in on where there's probably opportunity. As you mentioned, 232, a lot of dynamics associated with that. Who knows what that looks like in the end? But that's happening now. And we've got to have a voice, and we've got to make sure that we protect our interests, and we got to make sure that we're heavily engaged. The coalition and the AEC Fair Trade Committee have come together to have a single voice there, and I think that's very positive moving forward. As we mentioned, this podcast, it's important for members to voice their concerns, to voice their interest in 232 as we move forward. So again, that we stay aligned as an industry moving forward. We need to have a single voice to be effective. As you know, there was a trade case. There's some additional work that'll happen with that. It's in the appeal process. Where that goes, you mentioned the USMCA, and where that may go, may not go. I think there's a lot of work to be done there. And then obviously we have China 1. There's been a lot of great work. So those 4 areas, those aren't insignificant for our industry. That's a fork in the road. Some of the decisions relative to these areas is a fork in the road for our industry. It's for our specific businesses, and it's what we look like for the next, 3, 4, 5 years. So it'll be a significant part of our strategy session and making sure, first and foremost, that we're aligned within the AEC and that we are representing the member appropriately. That'll be first and foremost. And then again, what does success look like in each of these areas? And then what is our strategy and resources needed to execute on it? I would say it's one of the top 2 or 3 items within my agenda, at least as chairman of the AEC.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, we've obviously talked a lot about the strategy and, what do we want to do in your voice? But, there's also a basic amount of data that we need to get from members when it comes to what do you see in the marketplace? What is occurring as far as, maybe some evasion that might be happening or something like that. So it's kind of that market data, because as we move forward with this, specifically talking about Mexico, in that the import data isn't as good from Mexico as it might be coming from basically through the ocean ports. So we really need to, have our ear to the ground from all of the members, basically, providing feedback into the council. So then we might be able to use some of that knowledge to be able to, continue, our efforts, whether it's, imports from China or somewhere else. So I think that's very important because, there's a recent, announcement with Customs and Border Protection on the findings of forced labor violations by King Tom. So that means that all the imports from King Tom are basically seized in the ports. But what are they going to do? We know that they're just not going to go away.
Yeah.
They'll start their own tactics of whether it's Mexico or, bringing it through some other country to be able to get it here. And those are the types of things that, we can subscribe to all the import data that we want, but it's going to be, even if we can get the data, it's going to be a month or two, probably too late. And members are going to see those things happening, right now. So we don't need to, turn everybody into investigators, but it is good to get that market information, to be able to, triangulate on what's going on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you hear them say, if you see something, say something, or our neighborhood crime watch. I mean, that's who we are as an industry, right? If you see these things happening, just like the King Tom scenario coming out of the Dominican Republic, one thing that we have to watch for is that a change in entity or name doesn't help bypass this. And I know numerous examples of whether it's something like that relative to imports, or maybe it's just some data one single member can provide that can make a significant difference on the success of the work that we're doing. There's countless examples of that. So each individual can play a significant role in helping us monitor it, mitigate some risk associated with it, and then that data and that information helps us be more proactive as we move forward in protecting the trade. We're not looking for anything more than a fairly traded market to operate in. That's what our industry is looking for. We've got great extruders, we've got great businesses, we've got great technology. We can compete in a fairly traded market, and that's really where we stand. That's at the foundation of what this work is around, and we need everyone's help to make that happen.
No, well said. Well, thanks, Mark, for your time today. I greatly appreciate being able to get caught up with you, outside of our normal chit chat that we have.
Yeah, sure.
But any parting words from you that you would like to make?
Well, I would just say, happy holidays to everyone. And as we wrap up this 2025 year or 2024 year, I'm already thinking about 2025 and lean into 2025. I would say stay safe and looking forward to seeing everyone as we engage in a lot of the events that we talked about here today. And appreciate all the work that you're doing, Jason, with the AEC. Really excited about the direction that we're going and the change that we talked about here today. I think it's all for the better good and our ability to serve the membership at a higher level. So thank you and your staff.
We're here to serve. So we just need to know how you want it served.
All right.
Well, appreciate it, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to you. Thanks to everybody at Pennex that helps us doing so many things that we do. There's a lot of engagement from Pennex, and we really appreciate that as well. So happy holidays to you.
Thank you.